Okay, you're live. You can begin.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you for attending the subcommittee on rescheduling, descheduling meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to start with roll call. Member Hughes.
Present.
Member Klein.
Present.
Member Bertolo. And Member Britton.
Present.
Alrighty, we will start with item 1, public comment.
To provide public comment via Zoom, visit ccb.nv.gov, click the Public Meetings tab, and then select Commission Meetings. The link to the meeting can be found on today's agenda. You may also join by phone by calling 669-444-9171. Enter webinar ID 829-2043-4373, followed by passcode 778639. If you wish to provide public comment, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if joining by Zoom. If joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We will let you know when you have 30 seconds left of your time. Okay. First, we have Catrice Saunders. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your time today. This is Catrice Saunders, for the record, longtime patient advocate, moving the industry forward. I've been affected by the war on drugs at a state level and a federal level here in the state of Nevada. While I appreciate the sentiments of SB 277 passing in regards to me being able to apply to get my card again, there's definitely not enough being addressed for the harm that the state of Nevada and the federal government has had a hand playing in the systematic, strategic writing of laws to further harm me after I've helped build an industry and make hundreds of millions of dollars for the state of Nevada and local business owners. I still shouldn't have to be dealing with this and having to jump through hoops and fill out extra paperwork. With the talks of us in regards to federal descheduling or rescheduling, I think that it's important mentioning social justice operations as well as moving forward so that people can have the proper access to safe access for medicine throughout all 50 states. And also that opening the way for them to reschedule or deschedule would be a pathway for more education for science and research so that we can stop destigmatizing the plant. Moving forward, I'm always available for any type of input, and I appreciate you guys holding space in order to move the conversation forward in regards to what it would look like when this plant is finally set free. Thank you for your time today.
Click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if joining by Zoom, or dial *9 if joining by phone if you wish to provide public comment. Chair, there's no additional comment.
Okay, I'm going to move on to item 2, introductory remarks. Happy New Year, everyone. This is our first meeting in this new year, so it's really exciting. It's also our second to last meeting, hopefully, if we get through some of our discussion and at least, have a productive discussion on our draft report. So happy New Year. It's been a pleasure serving on the subcommittee with everyone. And so now I'm going to move to item 3, which I'm going to continue so that we can dedicate more time to item 4, discussing our draft report. I will re-agendize that item for our next meeting, which will also be our final meeting. And then we can have the introduction at that time. So I'm removing item 3 and I'm moving on to item 4, discussion of draft report to the legislator. I hope everybody had an opportunity to review the report. I know that Member Hughes may have some comments that she'd like to share with the subcommittee as a whole. So I invite the whole subcommittee to please share your thoughts, and hopefully we can, work toward a final report for our last meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Did you want me to go ahead and give my remarks? I think the report looked great. I read through it. Very happy that I've gotten to work with all of the members of the committee. I think you brought a lot of expertise to this issue. I did have some recommended suggestions for certain portions of the tax paragraphs. Just wanted to bring those to your attention. We do have a written suggested revision document that I could have the committee look at as well.
Member Hughes, I'm not sure if there's something wrong with your microphone, maybe.
Are you having trouble hearing me?
Mhm.
Let me see if I can get it closer to me.
Yeah, it's very quiet.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
As you're getting closer, it's much better.
Yeah, okay, good. Maybe I just need to lean forward. I was saying that I just had, I wrote up some suggested revisions for the tax portion, and I could provide those to the committee. I wanted to discuss on page 8 under subparagraph 5, which is the taxes paragraph. I'd like to add to the end of that paragraph some language about how medical cannabis is currently exempt from the retail excise tax, and that if the Nevada legislature determines that they could define it as a medicine, that it could also be exempt from Nevada sales tax, and this may help reduce the sales price of cannabis to Nevada consumers if there ever was a federal excise tax that was imposed on those sales as well, thereby helping industry have a competitive advantage. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention. Then on page 8 under subparagraph E, that one of those recommendations then would be to consider reducing Nevada's cannabis excise tax if the federal government imposes a federal cannabis excise tax. And then on page 13 under subparagraph 5, which is labeled taxes, we discussed with our last presenter a potency tax. And I just thought that might be something that the Nevada legislature would want to consider. And maybe reference the Washington study and the report that they did on that study. That may be important for the legislature to look at. They may want to conduct their own study. So I thought on page 14 under subparagraph E to put that as a recommendation.
And Shelley, I think this is Mitch Britton for the record. I think those are great comments. I also think that if we reference something on Washington regarding potency tax, another item that could be, at least interesting to explore is New York's the latest announcement out of New York, which was they're considering removing the potency tax as a method in which it can help state operators compete more with the black market, which sounds crazy, but I think there's definitely all these arguments on both sides of that. So I think both of those should definitely be included. I like that.
Should we maybe frame it, Member Hughes's recommendation to conduct a study on potency tax? I'm just trying to figure out how to frame the recommendation for the potency tax. I like your ideas. I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
Yeah. I think that would be a good recommendation to conduct our own study. Within that study, we could always refer to other states. So I think that would be a good thing to do to add as a recommendation.
Member Britton, is that kind of where you were going with your comment, or did I completely misread your comment?
No, I think that's right. I think it's making sure that if that is something that's considered, that both sides of the equation are taken under review.
Alrighty. Any other recommendations, Member Hughes?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Alrighty. Any other members of the subcommittee?
Well, I have a thought on some of the language that's being used about cannabis in particular. In the document, we seem to kind of interchangeably use cannabis and marijuana. I know there are times that we're referring back to some NRS statute, but there is a somewhat kind of racist history in the word marijuana itself. So if we could kind of lean towards cannabis instead, since this is going to be a state document, I think that might be perceived a little bit better by public.
So the reason marijuana is used, and I just want to be clear, in NRS 453, marijuana is defined in our Controlled Substances Act. And then if you look at 678A of the Nevada Revised Statutes, the definition of cannabis refers you to NRS 453's definition of marijuana. So I completely understand your comment. I can convert everything to cannabis if that's what the subcommittee wants, and just note that references, well, some references I think will have to keep marijuana because that's how it's delineated in the Nevada Revised Statute still. But I completely understand your comment. So what I can do is try my best to convert what I can to cannabis. And then when it's like a legal reference to marijuana, I will do what I can to eliminate as many references to that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Keep the ones that are referring to NRS as they are, and the rest maybe be just consistent.
I think Member Klein has his hand up. Do you have a better idea than I do?
Well, there's just an added sort of nuance here. My understanding is that the objection to marijuana is really marijuana with an H, not marijuana with a J. But the other challenge is that cannabis, the definition of cannabis really does encompass hemp also. So if we're using cannabis, it's not clear that we're talking about marijuana. Maybe it is in the Nevada statute, but generally, when you're talking about cannabis, it does include the hemp plant. So I would encourage us to think about using marijuana with a J.
Yeah, and to second what Member Klein just said, when we're thinking in the federal context, there is no real acceptable substitution for marijuana to cannabis. I know from, on the lobbying front there is, and I do agree that the term, the favored term is cannabis, myself included. But I do think with regard to the federal overlay, marijuana probably is the appropriate term. So yeah, that is a nuanced one, but I'll follow your direction, Ashley.
Well, I think there's no reference to marijuana with an H in the report, so that's completely out. And I understand because on the federal level, it is marijuana with an H in the Federal Controlled Substances Act, but we don't have that in the report at all, and we have it marijuana with the J. So would a balance be when we're discussing federal? Because I do have the footnote 3, which says the terms cannabis and marijuana are used interchangeably throughout this part, but are intended to be synonymous. With the federal, we keep it marijuana just because that's what it is in the federal, and then try and eliminate as many references on the state discussion to marijuana and change it to cannabis. Member Klein, you have your hand up again.
I have dealt with this issue before, and the way we handled it was we added a footnote. If you look at a paper that we wrote on www.schedulingreform.org, you'll see one of the first footnotes basically says, we understand that there is some historical concern about the use of marijuana with an H. And certainly by using marijuana with a J, we don't intend on insulting anyone. We're just doing it because for the sake of clarity. And I wonder whether just a footnote sort of explaining that up front might make more sense, because if you go back and forth, people may not really understand that in some cases you're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so what I can do is maybe add to my footnote 3, and discuss that there's really no intention to continue to use this term. It's because it's mentioned as marijuana on a federal level that we mention it here. But I'll still try and see if I can convert as many references to marijuana to cannabis where it's appropriate to avoid using it as much throughout the report. Is that okay with you, Member Bertolo?
That sounds great. I love this is our intention footnote. I think that really handles it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Does any other subcommittee members have a comment on the draft report? Member Klein or Britton?
I mean, I would just like to say to Ashley that you did a tremendous job pulling this together. I know that, you received sections from people, but you really pulled it together in a very comprehensive and understandable way, and you're to be commended for that. The only thing and I'm trying to find it, and I'm not finding it, but I know we had a reference to the fact that Bloomberg leaked the announcement, but I just wanted to flag that on Friday, there was a FOIA request, and it was reported in the New York Times with the full report from HHS. So the report does exist now. I don't know whether that is material or not, but I just wanted to let you know that did happen last week.
I'm probably going to footnote it just so they know that we're aware of it and that we didn't have blinders on. It's a huge report. If the subcommittee as a whole would like to see it, we can circulate it, but it's like 250 pages. It's a very long report that HHS sent to the DEA, and there's a lot of science and medicine, and so it's a great weekend read that I can send to all of you. But I think that is an important thing that maybe we should add. And thank you, Member Klein. I appreciate it, but I really couldn't have done it with a subcommittee that was really involved and doing the research and helping me lift and bring subject matter experts and help us to understand how do we get this big report and this big ask completed in such a short amount of time. So thank you, subcommittee members, for participating and just being active and trying to get to the finish line. Member Britton, did you have anything? Because I saw your mic go off.
Yeah, no, I was going to echo a lot of what Member Klein had just said. I think that the report looks great. Hopefully we have a little bit more substance to put in it if the DEA can get behind any of this, and I think with a little minor massaging, it's ready to go.
I do know too, I just wanted to know, we're going to fix the sites. The sites aren't Blue Book up to Blue Book shape, but I had to, get something out to discuss today. So the sites will be probably condensed quite a bit and cleaned up before you see the final report. I may also add, and I kind of interested in to see what Member Klein has to think about this. I was thinking about adding something about our international treaties too. I don't think we discussed anything on that, and it might be more applicable to the federal descheduling aspect. So I might just add a little bit about that, just so that our legislator has that kind of context to understand why it's highly unlikely, as noted in the report, that this could happen because of the fact that we would be breaking a bunch of international treaties. So that I think might want to just add a line or two about that. Nothing crazy, just to kind of back up what's being said in the report.
One of the experts, and I apologize that I should have referred to you as Member Balducci. I'm not even sure.
Oh, it's fine. I don't.
But Shane Pennington, one of the experts we had a few weeks ago come speak, has written a very comprehensive memo on this, which I will happily ask him if I can share it with you, and it might be something that we could attach as an exhibit or at least reference if you want. I'm happy to make that request.
No, I'd appreciate that because I think that it would just be helpful to mention it. I don't know how in detail we need to get, but I think it'd be helpful just to add a little bit on the descheduling on the federal level. There's also some forfeiture statutes that I'm going to add that are affected but don't need to be amended in the report. So I'll add those as being Nevada law that's affected, but there won't be any new recommendation as far as changing those. And I think that's pretty much it as far as my comments. I might also add in the recommendation, we talk about Title 56 and consider modifying Title 56. There may also need to be modification to a recent bill that passed, that SB 328. There's a section 1.6 in there and it references the forfeiture statutes. So I may add that those need to be modified, the language in that statute, because I believe it references NRS 453. And if we're telling the legislator or recommending, consider removing marijuana, cannabis from NRS 453, the forfeiture statute referencing 453 is not going to be helpful. So I was going to include a recommendation to maybe consider changing that language or modifying it to comport with all our other recommendations that we're making. But that pretty much summarizes my changes that I'll make between now and our final meeting. And I'll incorporate Member Hughes and Member Bertolot's footnote and recommendation to try and see if we can eliminate as many references without affecting the substance of the report to marijuana. And then, recirculate the final for our final meeting. My hope is to get this on quickly because I know that the Cannabis Advisory Commission will need to meet and vote on it as well. So really looking maybe the first week in March. Oh, sorry, February. I'm ahead of myself. I'm thinking the report's due to the legislator March 1st. So I'm confusing myself here. But looking maybe February the 2nd, it at least gives us about 2 weeks to get this cleaned up, finalized, and ready to be voted on. Unless any of the any members have prior engagements.
Second works fine.
Float that date.
The second, I am totally tight. My schedule's completely booked. I have
Okay.
no time at all.
Okay. What about the 9th?
The 9th works for me.
Right on the 9th.
Member Klein and Britton?
9th is fine for me.
Okay. And is the afternoon okay with everyone this time? Okay. Member Klein, does that day and time work for you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that gives us about 3 weeks to get this polished and ready to be voted on by the subcommittee as a whole. And then that at least gives the Cannabis Advisory Commission some time to figure out when they want to have their meeting. Might be the next week, I don't know, but at least we have a set day and time now so that they can plan accordingly and then get the report and recommendations transmitted to the legislator in a timely fashion.
Can
All
I
right.
ask a question?
Yes.
on that? So if it goes to the committee as a whole, and they have revisions to it, does it come back to our committee or will they make the revisions?
I believe they will make the revisions. That's my understanding, because we will have voted on it and already come to the conclusion that we all agree on this, right? So then if the Cannabis Advisory Commission has different recommendations, then they would be the ones to add those or take away any that we voted on and agreed to before it's transmitted to the legislator. I don't think it would come back to us because we've already voted that we like everything in our report, you know, so I think it would just continue with the Cannabis Advisory Commission. And if they want to meet again on it for any revisions that they want, they're certainly, you know, they can certainly do that. But I think as a subcommittee, if we all agreed to it, we would probably be done on February 9th, and then the Cannabis Advisory Commission, because the legislation says the Cannabis Advisory Commission, not the subcommittee, right? We were kind of just delegated this, you know, come up with the report and recommendations, but then ultimately it's the Cannabis Advisory Commission who makes those recommendations to the legislator. So, and I think also that would cause more delay, right? If they referred it back to us. I mean, they could refer it back if they wanted to, but I think they could just handle it themselves. Okay, so if no other subcommittee members have any more comments or discussion on the draft report, I was going to move on to the next item on our agenda. Okay, seeing none, I am now moving to item 5. Sorry, I had to count because I eliminated 3. Consideration for approval of the December 1st, 2023 rescheduling, descheduling subcommittee meeting minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to review those minutes prior to this meeting? I'm seeing heads shaking. Member Britton, did you have an opportunity?
I sure did.
Member Klein? Oh, I apologize. I apologize. You were not in attendance at the meeting. Will you be abstaining from the vote?
I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it will just be myself, Member Hughes, Member Bertolo, and Member Britton voting on the meeting minutes from the December 1st, 2023 meeting. So I'm going to open this item up for discussion. I myself did not find any typographical errors or anything in these meeting minutes. So unless any other members have any comments or revisions they'd like to see, please let me know now. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have 2 seconds. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All against, say nay. Hearing none, motion is approved. Did I do that right, Board Counsel? Okay, she's shaking her head. I'm still learning that part of the whole open meeting stuff. All right, so now that we have those meeting minutes approved, I'm moving on to our next item, which is item 6, future meetings. And I believe we've already decided that February 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time works for everyone to do our final vote on the report that will then be transmitted to the Cannabis Advisory Commission. So unless anyone believes we need any more meetings than that, that will be our final meeting as a subcommittee on rescheduling, descheduling. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 7, sorry, public comment.
If you wish to provide public comment, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if joining by Zoom. If joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We will let you know when you have 30 seconds left of your time. Caller with the last 4 numbers 1657, dial *6 to unmute. Please state your name before providing your comment.
Hi, my name is Abad Pisa for the record. during the CCB meeting yesterday, it was basically shown that the CCB was involved in corruption on how the equity licenses were handled. And based on that, I would like to say that true equity is freedom. When gambling got legalized, everybody got a slot machine. To this day, you can't walk to a corner store without there being a slot machine in it. Same thing with supermarkets, etc. Same thing for alcohol. What you guys are doing, again, by limiting how people are able to chase their ambitions, it is criminal. If you don't see it that way, that's because your authoritarian, totalitarian mindset has caused that, and I'm hoping that you open your eyes to the reality of things where you can't control equity through legislation. That's all. Thanks.
Peggy Shaner, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Peggy Shaner. I'm acting on my own as a citizen and cannabis user. Comments like that man just made are not helpful, and I would like to see comments like that when they're accusatory and defaming. I would like to see those comments muted. It's not helpful for anyone, and it makes me think this person is off his meds. That's it.
Abby Kaufman, go ahead.
Hi, for the record, my name is Abby Kaufman, Secretary and Chair of the Chamber of Cannabis's Commerce Committee. And I just wanted to thank the subcommittee. I appreciate you sharing the report in advance, and you can tell that the public comments and discussion was really heated, and the input from Senator Harris in terms of equal attention paid to all three of the scenarios. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I was just outside, but I wanted to call in to thank you for your time, and also to thank the CCB as a whole for the opportunity for productive public discourse, and look forward to seeing the final version. So thank you.
There's no additional comment.
All right, thank you also subcommittee members for attending, and thank you to the public who attended. I will see you on February 5th or 9th, sorry, February 9th. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.